Hello and welcome to episode 297 of the official Established2Run.com podcast. My name is Adam Levitan, as always joined by Evan Silva. He has a new computer. He has a new mic. He has a new camera. It's not all here as he remains traveling, but looking good. Evan, good afternoon.
Coming off an injury-filled week 12. Yeah. Lots of analysis to get to.
I mean, this is going to set up as an amazing waiver wire week, which Ryan Reynolds does a great job for us every week, depending on how thin your league is. We'll get to some of that stuff in a second. And in DFS, like this was a week in week 12 where there was like nobody I wanted to play. I can already tell that this week is shaping up as there's going to be too many guys that I want to play. We will get to all that. Before we get into it here, I want to remind everyone that this show is brought to you by our friends at prizepicks.com. You guys know me. You know I love the player props. I know a ton of people don't have access to legal player props because they're in New York or California or Texas or wherever else. Prize Picks is legal and regulated in those states. You can bet their props in parlay form. If you want to give them a try this week, they have a 100% instant deposit bonus up to $100. Use promo code ETR to get the best deal or use the link in the show notes. Again, promo code ETR at prizepicks.com for the instant deposit bonus and the best deal. Shout out to Prize Picks, by the way. They did an NBA promo with us and let us lock lines, and for everybody who bet it. And Dink hit them, and they hit both. And yeah, Prize Picks lost a lot to us there, but all in good fun. All right, let's get to it with the NFC, Evan. We'll start with the team that is coming out of a bye. It is the Arizona Cardinals. They will play at Chicago in their first game after the bye. We're pretty early in the week, but we're projecting Kyler and Nuke to be back. I mean, they haven't played in a long time, man. I mean, they've been out for a while, but now they get the bye, stretch run. I mean, they have like legit Super Bowl aspirations. I think it's time to get Kyler and Nuke back in there, I would think. Anything for you on the Cardinals as they come out of the bye?
Yeah, their bye kind of came at the right time, and it looks like they'll definitely get back Kyler. I think the optimism should be high on DeAndre Hopkins. Chase Edmonds, I think, is the big question. He went down high ankle sprain in week 9. It is we're going into week 13. These high ankle sprains can be really, really rough in terms of recovery, but he should be back within the next couple of weeks. I don't know if he'll be back this week though.
Yep. We'll talk more about them on Friday night because I do think that some Arizona stuff will be interesting depending on the injuries. What was interesting, though, was the way Atlanta used Cordarrelle Patterson to me. I mean, and I get they had a lead in this game and everything, but Cordarrelle Patterson was like a base running back. I mean, he didn't really play on third downs. Cordarrelle Patterson only ran 13 routes on 32 Matt Ryan dropbacks in this game, but he was like the feature back. 23 out of 29 Cordarrelle Patterson snaps came in the backfield, and he got 16 carries in this game, like way ahead of Mike Davis and these other dust balls that they have. The thing is, I mean, Cordarrelle Patterson is like so insanely efficient. So whether he's doing it as a running back or wide receiver, I guess it doesn't matter. It just scares me to like see that this is in the range that he won't be the passing down back. He won't run a ton of routes. But again, it was a game they were winning in. They're not often winning in games. What'd you see out of Atlanta?
He's the offensive centerpiece. It's incredible what he's done at this stage. I mean, he's been in the league for like almost a decade and never got an opportunity like this, and he's crushing it. Matt Ryan has fewer than 200 passing yards in 4 of his last 5 starts. The passing game is broken. Kyle Pitts, 1 touchdown through 11 games, 62 yards or fewer in 5 straight. It's just all about CPAT, and everybody else in the offense is pretty much struggling.
I made fun of Hermsmeyer for trying to redact Kyle Pitts, and actually played Kyle Pitts, I think, on 2 of my 6 tournament teams this week, and just got it shoved right down my throat. So I guess, I don't know. Hermsmeyer was right. Well, the most ridiculous thing is that the Falcons have won 5 games. I mean, they suck so bad. They're somehow 5-6. Their point differential is egregious, but man, 5-6 for this team is just, I don't even know how. Carolina. Well, big news of the week, Evan. Christian McCaffrey officially done for the season. Sad times. Actually, I have one really good best ball team in the 555 on DK that had Christian McCaffrey. So it's probably GG there for me, but I think there's a lot of holes to poke in this Carolina team right now. They haven't had their bye yet. I think their bye is this week. So that's not great for season long, obviously. And then secondly, their schedule in the playoffs is not great. And finally, quarterback play, man. I know everybody makes fun of me for being a Cam hater. I was a Cam lover until he got so injured and so old and so washed up that he can have a game like this. I mean, just an egregious game against Miami and get pulled in favor of PJ Walker. And, I'm not here to victory lap and dance on Cam's grave, but we got to realize that he was on the street all year for a reason. I don't think he's a starting NFL quarterback anymore in the league. And maybe I'm being too hard on him. I don't know. What do you see out of Carolina, and what do you think about the backfield going forward?
Yeah, what a difference a week makes, because now we've got CMC done for the year. Cam looked awful in his second start after looking pretty good for most of his first start back with Carolina. We kind of anticipated that Cam might have a floor game against Miami. The Dolphins defense is rolling again. This is exactly what the Dolphins intended to be to begin the season. They just dealt with a bunch of injuries. But, yeah, now going into the bye, I mean, could Sam Darnold come back? Cam Newton, even if he gets the start, and I know that Matt Rule said that he's probably going to come out of the bye as the starter, he's probably going to be on a really short leash. What I think is interesting, though, is the backfield situation in the absence of Christian McCaffrey, because Amir Abdullah played ahead of Chuba Hubbard this past week. What's your take there?
I think they like Amir Abdullah a lot. Like, Amir Abdullah was playing on pass downs even when Christian McCaffrey was in there a little bit. I still think Chuba will start and be the base, but I think Abdullah is going to play a lot. And this offense is not good enough to support two backs like this. I mean, especially with the way quarterback play has gone for them. So, I get that a lot of people are going to be trying to add Chuba Hubbard and Amir Abdullah this week. They wouldn't be huge priority ads for me, depending on the spot my team is with the bye and the matchups and the Cam mess and everything, So, I think Abdullah is going to catch the passes, but Chuba's going to be in base, and it's going to be kind of messy. Let's go to Chicago. So, man, Andy Dalton comes in and plays well. I mean, on the Thanksgiving show, Wiggins was like, if you want to be really dirty, maybe Andy Dalton steps in and can spark this offense like Justin Fields couldn't. And, certainly we were wrong on Justin Fields and Trey Lance and the way it played out preseason this year. They, A, couldn't get on the field, and B, when they've gotten out there, have not necessarily looked like they were very ready. Andy Dalton comes in and just starts shredding without Allen Robinson. And so you can see how it changes the offense. Cole Kmet was actually usable. Darnell Mooney had a really good game. And so I kind of think they might stick with Dalton for another week at least and see how it goes. I mean, maybe save Matt Nagy's job, at least in the short term there. What do you think out of Chicago's Thanksgiving Day performance? Yeah,
I would agree with that take, that they'll probably give Justin Fields another week. Cracked ribs. I mean, They can definitely justify sitting him another week. It did help that the Lions could generate zero pass rush against the Bears, which is not something that the Bears usually have the opportunity to deal with because they have, maybe the worst tackle combination in football. But Andy Dalton looked poised. He got the ball to Darnell Mooney, who, by the way, is balling in the absence of Allen Robinson. We'll see if Allen Robinson can come back this week. The running lanes were not there for David Montgomery, who just got buried in the backfield continually against the Lions, which was strange. I agreed with you that he was one of the best process plays on the slate, but he did not deliver. Darnell Mooney, 16 and 8 targets in 2 games without Allen Robinson. I think that he'll keep it rolling if Allen Robinson can't come back this week against Arizona.
Yeah, and if Andy Dalton starts, Darnell Mooney would obviously be way, way, way more interesting. Yeah, on the David Montgomery thing, it was weird that he was so inefficient on the ground. But, man, last 3 games, David Montgomery, 168 snaps, Khalil Herbert just 27, and Damian Williams has been out. He has 0. So it's still a really good role for David Montgomery. I wouldn't get too discouraged there. I know. I'm interrupting the video. Wah. But if you're enjoying this video and want to see more fantasy football and DFS content like it, please just take 2 seconds, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button. Really does go a long way for us, and we'd appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and now back to the show. Dallas. I can't get a read on this Ezekiel Elliott situation, man. First they were like, oh, we're going to rest him for a little bit. We're going to rest. His knee is messed up. He's all banged up. We're going to let Tony Pollard get out there. And then it comes out that ahead of Thursday's game, they expect, he's practicing in full, and they expect Ezekiel Elliott to get a full workload. I mean, to me, some timeshare where Tony Pollard is the 1A and Zeke is the 1B makes the most sense. I don't know if they'll execute on that, but I think it's at least worth watching considering they're already leaking stuff about Zeke being banged up, etc. We're also watching news on Amari Cooper, who I think has cleared COVID protocol, but said he's still not feeling great, still has a cough. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's going to end up playing or not. And then CeeDee Lamb, I believe, will be back from the concussion for Thursday's game against the Saints. What do you see out of Dallas's loss to the Raiders on Thanksgiving?
Yeah, there are a lot of implications if Amari Cooper is not able to play. And today the Cowboys said that if Amari Cooper does not practice on Wednesday, then he's probably not going to play in the game on Thursday night because Cedric Wilson looks like he's not going to be available. And so then they would be down to Noah Brown as their number 3 receiver. He's been all outside. CeeDee Lamb moves back into the slot where the Saints have been getting shredded. And then Michael Gallup on the other side. So there are some real implications there. The Zeke thing is interesting. Jerry Jones goes on his Tuesday radio show and says he's going to get a serious load on Thursday night after there were reports that they might like sit him down and let him rest his knee. I mean, Tony Pollard has been playing great. So that would make sense in theory, but Jerry Jones, especially with Mike McCarthy kind of out of the picture now, having COVID, Jerry Jones is like the head coach of the Cowboys.
Yeah. For dynasty players out there, I mean, it should have been, I think, a no-brainer sell unless you were like really competing to win to get a sell on Ezekiel Elliott. Like if you're carrying Ezekiel Elliott in dynasty and you're not competing to win this year, just a no-brainer sell. I mean, the writing is on the wall on Ezekiel Elliott. Let's go to the Lions. So DeAndre Swift kind of ruined the Thanksgiving slate because he left after, I don't know, first series, second series, something like that. And then we get all Jamaal Williams. Jamar Jefferson is a sleeper prospect that I thought was interesting, but he's hurt too. So the backup to Jamaal Williams, assuming DeAndre Swift can't play this week against the Vikings, I think is going to be Godwin Igwebuike or whatever that guy's name is, like the former safety. Jamaal Williams, I think, profiles is kind of just the guy, but coaches love him. Coaches love playing him. He plays well in the pass game, and I think that you could do worse, much worse than starting Jamaal Williams against the Vikings on Sunday, assuming DeAndre Swift is out. What do you see out of the Lions on Thanksgiving?
Well, they came out of the gates and first quarter long touchdown pass to Josh Reynolds. It was all downhill from there.
Yeah.
But Josh Reynolds immediately jumped into that essentially number 1 receiver role. I mean, it's him, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and now we're going to be without DeAndre Swift. It adds up to a game, I think, in week 13 for TJ Hawkinson, who's been very up and down, but it's just they are broke at receiver. No DeAndre Swift. I mean, they are just so low on talent. It's unbelievable.
0-10-1 are the Detroit Lions right now. 0-10-1, my God. Let's go to Green Bay. So Green Bay is heading into their bye. I just wanted to make a comment on old friend of the show, one of the best friends of the show, AJ Dillon. Such a freak, man. I mean, to be 6 foot 247. He's been targeted on 21% of his routes this season, which is just absolutely massive. He's seen 29 targets and caught 27 of them. And I don't know why they played Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones played some in the first half, I guess, and then it was all AJ Dillon. Why not just rest Aaron Jones through the bye or whatever? But very clear that AJ Dillon is right there, if not ahead of Aaron Jones at this point. Other small injury note, Randall Cobb hurt his groin in this game. We'll see what happens with him. But yeah, offense is playing well, and MVS, I think, is playing better and earning more trust from Aaron Rodgers on a week-to-week basis. Anything on the Packers as they head into their bye?
Yeah, the Packers go into their bye. I mean, this is an opportunity for Aaron Rodgers to rest his fractured toe, Aaron Jones to get healthy. But I do wonder if down the stretch, A.J. Dillon might have more fantasy value than Aaron Jones. I mean, I think that's a distinct possibility. I thought it was really impressive how the Packers were missing. I mean, it seems like they're never going to get back David Bakhtiari. Maybe they will after the bye. Elgton Jenkins, who started for them at left guard and left tackle, he was out. Their center, Josh Myers, was out. And they still were able to neutralize the Rams pass rush, which is, star-studded in theory, but 1 sack on 46 dropbacks for Aaron Rodgers. They did a lot of quick game, got the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands quickly. And I mean, he picked them apart. And I mean, he, despite this toe injury, I mean, I don't think it's affected him, certainly not in the box score.
Oh, certainly not. Speaking of that game, let's go to the Rams. And, I think Darrell Henderson came out of this game banged up. I saw some reports, but when he's healthy, I mean, his role is so good. 50 out of 62 snaps against the Packers, 16 of 19 running back carries, also 33 routes on 42 Stafford dropbacks, had a touchdown reception. I still think, though, he's nicked so much that, like, Sony Michel has to be an ad. Like, if Sony Michel's available in your league, like, you know, if anything happened to Darrell Henderson, Sony Michel would be a pretty good play. Also, they got Odell in there as an every snap player. They did not, as we expected, waiver from their preferred, Sean McVay's preferred 3 wide receiver base. Odell, Van Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, every single snap basically in this game. What did you see out of the Rams' loss in Lambeau?
Yeah, Odell and Van Jefferson both made big plays downfield, but man, the injuries are really starting to mount for the Rams. We've got Stafford dealing with the chronic back pain. Robert Woods is long gone at this point. Quad strain for Darrell Henderson, and then for Odell Beckham, hip pointer. So these are injuries that we're going to have to monitor through the week. It didn't seem like the Darrell Henderson and Odell Beckham injuries were particularly severe, but it's definitely something we're going to have to pay attention to.
Yeah. Vikings. So another kind of landscape altering injury, Dalvin Cook. I feel like he's had this injury before, this like shoulder injury, but he goes down with his shoulder. I mean, at this point, we know what happens when Dalvin goes down. Alexander Mattison, my God. I mean, he's going to play the Lions again. I think he just dropped like a 35 ball or something on the Lions last time Dalvin was out. This time it's in Detroit. Doesn't really matter. Obviously, if Dalvin misses any significant time in the fantasy playoffs, people who have Alexander Mattison are going to be very, very happy. But yeah, I mean, this offense, like, I just love the offense, how concentrated it is. And you know exactly when they play well, it's going to be Madison, Thielen, and Justin Jefferson. What do you see out of the Vikings game in San Francisco?
Yeah, well, I mean, just the big news is the Dalvin Cook injury. And you're right. I mean, he was red flagged coming out of Florida State for shoulder problems. I think he had surgery on both of his shoulders coming out, and that was sort of the explanation for why he wasn't a first-round pick. But he's dealt with injuries to both shoulders really throughout his playing career. I think it was Rap Sheet who reported the specifics of his injury, and then Mike Zimmer said that was false. But then another report comes out that he's probably going to miss at least 2 games. So it's going to be the Alexander Mattison show for sure.
Yeah. Saints. This team has lost 4 straight, man. And I know we were speculating on this some last week, talked to Underhill, and he confirmed that they were going back to Simeon, but now they've lost 4 straight. Maybe Taysom's healthy, and there's rumors that Taysom's actually going to start this game on Thursday. I picked off a couple what I thought were stale lines on Taysom touchdowns on some books that were still projecting Simeon as the starter, but we'll see. Maybe Taysom starts. Maybe they get Kamara back. Game on Thursday against Dallas. I mean, New Orleans desperately needs it. I mean, they're 5-6, I believe. Also, anything on the Saints as they head into this Thursday night game against the Cowboys?
Yeah, well, Taysom Hill was good in fantasy when he started last year.
Oh, yeah.
But I do think that it is worth noting that the situation around him is not nearly as favorable as it was last year. Last year, he had Michael Thomas. Teron Armstead remains out. Their stud left tackle, their left guard. Andrews Pete is done for the year with a torn pec. Adam Troutman, I think, is done for the year. Yeah. Alvin Kamara is, his health. I mean, he must have had a setback at some point. I mean, Underhill was saying that, the Saints didn't expect him to be out this long. Ryan Ramczyk has missed time. So the situation is not nearly as favorable as it was last year for Taysom Hill.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And we'll talk more about both New Orleans and Dallas situations because there's so many questions up there. We'll talk about them Thursday, me and Cody on the YouTube show ahead of the showdown slate. Giants. I mean, running backs who get the usage that Saquon Barkley gets, or at least got in this game, 87% of the snaps, 26 routes on 36 dropbacks, 17% target share. Like, it's hard to fail, but Saquon is so incredibly inefficient. I think he had a 37-yard run and he finished with like 54 yards. And this is like his game. I get that. But man, I mean, I can't even, like, it's hard for me not to click a talented running back getting this kind of usage when he's like 6,200, 6,300. But he's just so, like, I feel like the inefficiency is predictable at this point. So what are your thoughts on Saquon and anything else on the Giants?
Yeah. And I mean, it's also, he's sort of a product of his environment too. I mean, because I mean, he's not banging out those long runs very often. I think that he looks good laterally, like in terms of his agility, but he can't put his foot in the ground and get upfield and be really explosive like he used to be. Yeah. I wonder if that is just, a culmination of the injuries, but I mean, the usage is there. This was Freddie Kitchens' first game calling plays. I assume that he'll be calling plays the rest of the season. And the usage was good enough. I mean, he's like, you just have to downgrade your expectations, I think, for Saquon Barkley. Yeah. Kenny Golladay cannot get open. Yeah. And that's a big problem. And then Evan Ingram, a ceiling game for Evan Ingram, 3 for 37.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, Kenny Golladay was in a really good spot. Evan Ingram was in a really good spot. Saquon Barkley was in a really good spot. The usage on all of them were good. But, like, you kind of have to retrain your brain to be like, the Giants' overall team, floor is so low. Like, they're just... And their ceiling is so low. Like, they haven't scored... They've scored the least touchdowns in the league over the last 2 years by, like, a wide margin. I mean, it's insane.
And now they face the red-hot Dolphins off defense.
Yeah. Eagles. I feel like people just, like, glossed over... Like, everybody's making fun of these Miles Sanders play. Like, Miles Sanders was 5,100, and he was on his way to definitely running for over 100 yards. Like, definitely. He had a catch. And everybody's like killing the play because he got hurt, like, I get it. It was frustrating that he got hurt, but I thought Miles Sanders was like an okay play at 5,100. Now, though, he's hurt. I don't know what Jordan Howard's status is. I don't know what Miles Sanders' status is. I do know that Boston Scott, I knew that the Eagles like Boston Scott in both the rush and receiving game. Kenny Gainwell only played 11 snaps in this game, even though Miles Sanders got hurt. Boston Scott, 34 snaps, 12 routes. So obviously, the Eagles play the Jets this week. Whoever starts for the Eagles, whether it's Jordan Howard or Miles Sanders or Boston Scott, is going to be in play. Hopefully, at least for fantasy's sake, we get this thinned out a little bit. We'll find out more later in the week. But what did you see out of the Eagles' ugly loss up in the Meadowlands?
Yeah, and Boston Scott did lose a fumble late. So I don't know. We don't know the extent of Miles Sanders' injury. You're right. I mean, he averaged like over 7 yards per carry on his opportunities. Gets hurt. Kenny Gainwell comes in real late. He, really didn't play until like the last drive. He had 3 catches for 32 yards on the last drive. Jalen Hurts, though, I think is the big story right now because he came out of the game with an ankle injury. Do you have any read on that?
It didn't. I mean, he didn't have to leave the game, so I have to think that it wasn't overly severe, But I hear you. It's something to watch, especially for somebody who relies on it so much for his legs for fantasy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's go to San Francisco. So, yeah, I mean, the Eli Mitchell thing, man, I think that when a running back who has hardly been used in the pass game anyways is playing with like a broken finger, projecting him for no pass game role or very limited pass game role, I think is right. But man, I mean, 16 routes for Eli Mitchell in this game, and he had 6 targets. And I mean, I just didn't think that was possible, for Eli Mitchell to go out there and catch 5 balls. He also played 49 out of 70 snaps, 77% of the running back carries, and that was with Debo. And by the way, we'll talk about this Debo injury in a second here. Debo's out 1 to 2 weeks. I mean, Debo is essentially playing running back now. Obviously, they don't like Trey Sermon. They clearly don't like Jeff Wilson that much. It seems to me that Kyle Shanahan is like in love with Eli Mitchell, who's played really, really well. So what do you see out of the 49ers, and what do you think about them without Debo for the next 1 to 2 weeks?
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan loves Elijah Mitchell. And I mean, Elijah Mitchell has been really, really good. I agree with you that the 6 targets, 5 catches, pretty fluky. But I wonder if Elijah Mitchell is going to be like a league winner down the stretch because their running game, their system is so good. He can break long runs. He's going to be an every week starter the rest of the way. Brandon Ayuk can do a lot of the things that Debo Samuel can do. And so I think that he jumps right into that role. I don't know if he's going to be getting 6 rushing attempts, but I think he might get 2 or 3. And then Jawan Jennings is going to move into the starting lineup. Jawan Jennings is like a big slot receiver type. Think like Kendrick Bourne, that type of guy. Probably not somebody that we're going to be looking at in fantasy, but certainly Ayuk, Kittle, and Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah. They're playing Seattle this week up in Seattle, and that'll be a really interesting game for DFS considering what's going on with Eli Mitchell and also with the Debo injury. Speaking of Seattle, I mean, if you guys want to hear the whole bit about Russ being pissed at DK Metcalf for pursuing a foursome with an OnlyFans girl, you can listen to the solo pod for that. But in terms of real football takes, Evan, do you have any takes on what's going on with DK Metcalf? Because I thought, Russ was certainly better last night. Certainly not good, but better. DK Metcalf still 1 catch for 13 yards. Any takes?
I mean, they can't sustain offense. They have run the fewest plays in the NFL. That cuts down on their volume. They've been hit or miss at best in the passing game. I mean, Tyler Lockett is kind of lucky to be coming out of these games with, production. DK Metcalf certainly not getting it. Russ, either he can't or he's unwilling to run like he used to. And I mean, just the offense, it looks like it's broken to me. It's just it's a bad offense. And it's not even fun to watch.
Yeah. The Alex Collins prop, and I thought about taking it. It got steamed up. It opened at like 45 Alex Collins rush yards, and I was like, God, this offense is so broken. And people were betting the over, and it got up to like 55, and I still didn't take it. So, #regrets on Alex Collins. I mean, I get that it was a theoretical good spot for him, and it often is, but Seattle run game is just disaster, and now the pass game is a disaster too. Anyway, speaking of non-disasters, let's go to the Bucs. Gio Bernard playing 1 snap, I get that he's not going to play a lot, but to just give Lenny all the pass game work, I mean, the ceiling is so huge. And I get that he scored 3 rushing touchdowns, but to me, the key is 31 routes on 39 Tom Brady dropbacks for Leonard Fournette. I mean, he's going to have huge games with this kind of usage. Also, Rob Gronkowski, I finally got on the right side of Rob Gronkowski this week, played him, and he went off. He's now been targeted on 26% of his routes this season. That actually leads all tight ends. What you see out of the Bucs comeback win in Indy.
Yeah, the 4 touchdowns are great for Leonard Fournette, but I mean, I thought that the real takeaway was just his usage. Just dominating the backfield, 81% of the backfield snaps, 24 touches. He's got the Falcons next, so I think he's going to stay hot. I mean, he's run away with this thing. And then, Rob Gronkowski, 123 yards, his most since week 1 of the 2018 season.
Washington football team, last team we're going to do here on this episode. Small story was Logan Thomas coming back. He was eased in a bit, 28 routes on 41 Taylor Heineke dropbacks. John Bates still ran 10 routes. The big story was A, Antonio Gibson's usage, B, J.D. McKissic getting carted off in this game, C, they play the Raiders next on a short week. Obviously, salaries won't be adjusted in DFS, so we're going to be talking a lot about Antonio Gibson. 36 touches for Antonio Gibson in this game. What do you think they do without J.D. McKissic going forward?
Yeah, and Antonio Gibson even left this game with a knee injury at one point, still wound up with 36 touches. If J.D. McKissic is going to miss time, my initial inclination was that the injury was not that severe. I thought I saw somebody report that.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen anything on it.
Yeah, I mean, of course he was carted off, so I don't know. We'll find out. But if he's out, for any period of time, like Antonio Gibson is going to be, a league winner down the stretch. I mean, he's going to be more involved in the passing game. We've seen what he looks like as a runner. He's really, really explosive. He can do it all. And if he just gets that opportunity, I mean, I think that he's going to capitalize. Yeah,
and Washington, now that they've won 3 straight, they have playoff aspirations, man. And maybe our Washington football team over 8, maybe our Washington football team to make the playoffs. Maybe it's still alive. I kind of written those off as dead, but maybe it's alive.
Somehow they're playing legit good defense again, despite not having Chase Young and Montez Sweat. It's right. Nothing makes sense.
They're playing the defense that we thought they would play. Raiders, Cowboys, Eagles, Giants to end the season. A lot of NFC East battles coming up for the Washington football team. All right. That is going to do it for this NFC team by team podcast. Would appreciate it if you guys are watching on YouTube or listening. You hit the subscribe button. It is indeed free and helps us out a ton so we can keep bringing you free content. For Evan, for producer Luke, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.